Roger, go for deploy.
Hey gang, Tom here again from Adventure Fit Radio. This was cool. Today this was really cool. We spoke to Justin Cotler, who's a grid league coach, and he also owns a box in just outside the city of New York called CrossFit Dynamix. Really cool guy. I learned tons of stuff that I actually had no idea about him. There's a little part in the show where we ask him about some of the other stuff that he does, besides from CrossFit and being a grid league coach and all this sort of stuff he did through college. And he actually sang myself and Bill a tune, and he's a fantastic singer. I got relatively weak at the knees there, and I look. Can I be honest? I've got a man crush. It was Justin Cotler. So mate, when you listen to the show, Tommy, he's into you. Nah. So guys, let's have a quick shout out to the sponsors. Audible, they have a jump onto Audible. Sorry, just all my wording there. Jump onto Audible. They are running a free month trial. I jumped onto Audible and I downloaded A Brief History in Time by none other than old mate Stephen Hawking, and I'm actually still reading that one, but I'm still really loving it. So jump onto that one. Yes. So Bill's just reminding me, audibletrial.com/ADVF radio. That is us, guys, and that's where you can get your free 1 month trial. It's the best way to do it. We're still looking for some more sponsors, guys, to fill the gaps of Loxam Solutions and No Days Off Sups. They really helped us out. Thank you very much, guys, for that. So we'll give them a free plug on the show. Loxam Solutions is a boutique consulting and business support company focused on business consulting and commercial services. Key to their success has been through the application of a pragmatic approach combined with entrepreneurial spirit to achieve our clients' outcomes. Guys, they can be found at loxamsolutions.com. Also to No Days Off Sups, Macca absolutely froths No Days Off Sups. He doesn't stop speaking about him. When I first met him, I actually thought his name was NDO. Only found out recently that his actual name is McGregor, which is even funny. Oh, sorry. It is even funnier. No Days Off Supplements, guys, is a newly formed company that aspires to build a trusted brand by having honesty, integrity, and loyalty at the cornerstones of their relationships with all their stakeholders. Guys, drop ADVF radio. That'll get you 10% off there at NDO Sups. Without further ado, let me bring to you guys Justin Cotler. This is a really shorter a pod that we normally do, but straight to the point. Really interesting stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.
Okay, guys, we are sitting here with Justin Cotler. Justin is head coach of the DC Brawlers in the Grid League in America, a new sport that's been spawned from the functional fitness community. I'm sitting here with Tommy on my left. Mac is out on this particular podcast. He's unavailable. So just like to welcome Justin Cotler. Justin, hey, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Anytime. It's good to have you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Justin? You're a pretty high-level coach in the functional fitness realm, CrossFit and the Grid League. Why don't you tell us about your coaching history and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Most recently, obviously, with Grid and the DC Brawlers, and then I own CrossFit Dynamix, which is here in Astoria, New York, just outside of the city. Mm-hmm. And I've had a few games teams, 2013 and 14. We finished 5th and 16th, and this year we finished 5th in the world in the Open and currently 1st in the Northeast. Wow. And been lucky enough to coach a lot of individual athletes at the games and regionals level, and I've been very lucky to coach some Aussies. So I've got, Con Porter and Amy Drake up, and did some programming for Jess Coughlin, but more grid stuff than CrossFit.
Okay.
I've been CrossFitting for, it's been 9 years now.
Wow.
Of course, before that, I was a full-time musician, which is interesting.
Right. What did you play?
Actually, I was a recording artist. I'm a soul singer, man.
Soul singer?
Yeah, I saw when you said that to me, I was like, all right, this is awesome. This is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so it seems like a different life, but
Can you sing us a tune?
I'll do the harmony.
Yeah, if you guys want me to.
Love to. Absolutely love to.
Yeah. Right now, or you want me to?
Yeah, mate, yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Give us a lyric.
I'll give you something here.
Sure.
Girl, I know this might seem strange, but let me know if I'm out of order for stepping into you this way. See, I've been watching you for a while. I just gotta let you know that I'm really feeling your style.
Righty.
Yes.
So
sensational.
That was nice. So
was
the moral
awesome.
of that story was you are voyeuristically following around a woman that you're into, or
Yeah, well, that was I wasn't one of mine. That was a Music Soul Child tune. But
that's good. That's
yeah, that style. And did a lot of had an album out. Actually, I have an album on Spotify.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And then I was on the charts. I performed on Letterman. I
Really?
toured around the. Oh yeah, I did. It was a serious thing. Man. I was signed to a management company, label, the whole nine, and honestly, it kind of bridges well into the CrossFit story because I was full-time musician and right out of college I played college sports as well. I was a college basketball player. I also was captain of the golf team at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. But I knew at that point I was going to become a singer. And when I got out of school, I played in bands in Philadelphia. And it was kind of, at that time, I'm old, boys. So
24.
Yeah, 24, exactly. So, when I graduated college, late 90s, it was in the United States, especially, it was a neo-soul movement. So, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but D'Angelo, Maxwell, Erykah Badu, Gil Scott. And I was in Philadelphia singing with all those people. And I also went to college with John Legend, who is actually John Stevens, and wrote songs, did a bunch of stuff with him. So that was, when I got out of school, that was kind of the plan. I was just going to be a musician and to be honest, it was awesome, but it's such a roller coaster ride. And one of those things where, you'd see a lot of progress and get a deal and be on a big tour. And then all of a sudden the label I was signed to, would go bankrupt, and then this thing would happen and that thing would happen. And I just got so fed up with the industry. And then I got to the point in 2007 where I just was like, what am I going to do with my life? And but I was always huge into fitness and huge into sports, incredibly competitive. Yep. And I found CrossFit, and CrossFit became my new stage. And, so really became a way, music, what I loved so much about it was being able to, change people's lives through music and affect people in that way. And now I get to do it through CrossFit and functional fitness and grid. So really and truly, it's been a cool two separate lives I've been able to lead.
It's good. It really sounds like you've there's a really good balance there. So are you still prominent in the music area? Do you do some stuff at home or?
Yeah. So I my original stuff, the last album I did was in St. Louis, like 2009, and then. I started to get really into coaching, and when I started getting into coaching, it was really tough to write and do a lot of my own stuff. But I was still doing a lot of gigs with a big event band, really cool stuff. Like, we did the Red Cross Gala Ball in Monte Carlo for the Prince of Monaco. We did Trump's wedding.
Trump's wedding.
Did Trump's wedding. Did the CEO of Reebok's 50th anniversary party. Open for Diana Ross.
What was it like traveling to Monte Carlo? What was that? That must have been a pretty awesome experience.
It was pretty sick. We had a gig at the Sporting Club. I don't know if you guys have ever seen pictures of that place, but so it's this incredible venue. You're inside. The ceiling they created, basically looks like you're under a bunch of stars. And then the back of the venue, the doors open like literally, it's like sliding doors, and they open up to give you this panoramic view of the water and the city. Wow. Yeah, dude, it was sick. I mean, it was so, that gig we opened for Joe Cocker, and it was one of the last gigs he did before he died.
Wow.
So that was sick. Yeah.
Did he leave his hat on?
Yeah. That's a good question. He wasn't wearing a hat, from what I remember.
He never had it on.
He didn't even have a hat on. Yeah,
that's right.
That's sick. So what was your proudest moment in your music career then? Tell us the story. Is that maybe that trip to Monte Carlo, or opening with Diana Ross, or opening for Diana Ross, or what was the pinnacle of that section of your life?
I think the coolest. Honestly, I think the most fun I ever had making music was right when I got out of college. I played with this band in Philadelphia, and you're just a dumb punk kid basically who just thinks that you're going to be the biggest thing in music, and you're gigging 4 or 5 nights a week. You don't have a pot to piss in, but all you care about is making music. And just how organic it was. I never loved music more when I knew nothing about the music industry.
Yeah.
So
when it was just about the music rather than trying to worry about making a living and all the other bullshit that goes with it.
Absolutely. And truthfully, the band was so good. I mean, everybody was amazing. It's like, you always, hindsight's 20/20, and if you knew then what you know now, I mean, the band was so good. It could have been something really special, but we were 5 egomaniacs that wanted to do our own thing. And eventually, after 2 years, we broke up, but it really was the most fun that I ever had. As a solo artist, I would say, the coolest thing that I had an album, the EP actually that's on Spotify, and it was on iTunes. I think I was on the top 10 in the charts in like 3 or 4 countries in Europe, which is pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty awesome.
Tommy fancies himself. So normally, some of our shows, most of our shows, we start with a little rendition on the guitar from Tommy. He sings a tribute to the guest.
I do.
Because we kind of tied this up. We've been trying to get you on the show for a long time. We kind of tied this up late, so we didn't have the tribute for today. But Tommy's legit wants to make a career out of the music industry. What advice would you give to the bloke sitting to me on my left? He's got a face for radio, hence the podcast. So it's going to have to be all on Skype, no live. Not Skype. It's going to have to be all on Spotify, no live touring. But what advice would you give Tommy on to start making waves?
I think that this is the best advice I can give you.
Sure.
If you think that there's anything else that you can do in the world that makes you happy, then you should do it.
Yeah. Well, honestly, clearly I've got to get a better face.
But if you the truth of the matter is, I knew I was put on earth to sing.
Yes.
So for me, there was no other choice at that point. And it's amazing. I never thought that I would find something. I'll be honest. I mean, music. I'll never feel any way about anything the way I feel about music, but CrossFit is close, and I never, functional fitness CrossFit. I never thought that I would find something that I was even close to as passionate about. But aside from that, man, I mean, it's a different world right now than when I first started. When I first started, there was no internet. Yeah. There were still record labels. There were still, it's different now. You can put out an album yourself and do relatively well, as long as you've got some chops. So
there you go. There's step number 1. Get some chops.
Yeah, it's all about
get some chops.
Exactly.
I need some chops.
Some skills.
It's good to not suck.
Yes.
It's good to not, for sure. So that's the first step, other than that, man, I had a drummer who was a fantastic drummer, a guy who played with everybody here in New York, and he was on my tour with me, and he was in my band for a while. And one of the things that he said to me when I was first starting out was, you just can't give up. When you give up, you don't have a chance anymore, right? I mean, once you give up, you don't have a chance. And this thing is so volatile. It's so much of a roller coaster ride. It's so much of, you got to be in the right place at the right time and know the right person that, at the end of the day, it's about, stick-to-itiveness and being persistent. So that's the thing I can, you just got to be annoyingly persistent.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's good advice. Similar, very similar to, I got some advice from a mentor I had with Adventure Fit, and he told me basically what you just told Tommy. He told me my best advice was to drop it and run for the hills. He said it's probably very similar to the music industry, as in you're not going to be successful. Or you're not even going to have a chance unless it is your passion, because you just wouldn't put in the hard yards otherwise, I suppose. Do you have something, Tommy? I think I cut you off there.
Yeah, no, that's all right, mate. Justin, before you mentioned that you were talking about music and CrossFit being sort of two separate things in your life. I really can relate to that. I sort of feel that music for me is I mean, they're both big passions of mine, but music provides like a safe haven where I can just go and chill out and, sing and play guitar and, do things. And then CrossFit is the other side where it's like, it's a really good application for life where you can practice bettering yourself and all that sort of stuff. Is that the sort of same way you felt about the two?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also, to be honest with you, for me, I'm extremely competitive, but I also have a very obsessive personality, an addictive personality. And I was beyond just loving music. I mean, I was addicted to it, you know, like it was a situation where I had to do it. I couldn't think of anything else. And I was so self-absorbed and really lived a completely different life at that time. And, when I got into CrossFit, it's kind of the way it started for me. It just became an obsession. And I think that happens with a lot of people with CrossFit. But it was interesting to me because I had never really been that way. I'd been that way obviously about basketball and golf, et cetera, but nothing to the extent where music took me. And CrossFit, really became something that was really close to that. And so what was awesome for me was it was my escape from every day, like that was kind of the way I felt about the way you say music feels for you, being a safe haven. Actually, it was CrossFit that became the safe haven for me because music had become the thing that was weighing heavily on me, just the industry in general. And the fact that I was able to escape and find CrossFit, it came at an incredible time in my life because I think it was at a crossroads where I was becoming a very destructive and bitter human being because I hadn't achieved everything that I had wanted to. And it came at a really good time. Yeah,
that definitely makes sense. It sounds like it was starting to sort of take over you. So have you found that balance now between the two?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without, I think now that I've been able to be successful in coaching, especially and coaching at a high level, and music now is something that I can love, and it's become, it's still a passion obviously, but I can actually call music a hobby now, which is interesting because I never thought I'd be able to do that. But it's definitely a huge part of my life, but it is not the end all be all.
Sure,
that's good. So let's take it back to your coaching. So would you call yourself a coach first, athlete second these days, or
yeah?
You seem to be very across everything with your coaching, with obviously the high level CrossFit team stuff with Dynamix and now the Grid League. So let's move into where the opportunity came about. So you've obviously done some high level coaching, and then you were offered an opportunity to coach the DC Brawlers in the Grid League. Why don't you discuss how that all came about? First, actually, just let the listeners know what Grid is, because there's a lot of guys out there that probably aren't aware.
Yeah, Grid. It is team racing, human performance racing, basically. So it's 5 men, 5 women on what basically is a basketball court with a apparatus in the middle that we call a rig, that has pull-up bars and rings for muscle-ups and ropes, etc. And you have to accomplish tasks as you move down the grid, which is separated into, we have feet here. So we say...
Yep. Just to be difficult.
Yes, I know, just to be difficult. Exactly.
Well, we have feet as well. They're not units of measurement.
It's different time, right?
Different, yeah. We put shoes on them.
Exactly. So it's separated in 20 feet increments, and you have to achieve, those increments are broken into, there's 4 quadrants. You have to accomplish something in each quadrant as you move down the grid, and the team that finishes the race first wins.
Yes.
And it's incredibly fast, incredibly exciting. unbelievably strategic, and really and truly nothing like anything else I've ever done coaching-wise because of how important you are as a coach. Really, truthfully, like, here in America, very much like an NBA coach, an NFL coach.
Like a game time hands-on coach rather than a
Absolutely.
behind-the-scenes programming and recovery
Right.
coach. So you
Correct.
got to be there at the moment, at the head of the game.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And while I love CrossFit, being a CrossFit coach is preparatory. It's all you're in the box. You're preparing. You're sending programming. You're making sure everything is cool. You have a strategy going in, but once your athlete is on the competition floor at regionals and the games, you become a spectator.
Yes.
And there's not much you can do except scream your ass off, and they never hear you anyway. So. But in grid, I'm literally making in-game split decisions. It's a speed chess match, and it suits my personality very well because if you can't tell, I'm an extremely intense human being. So it's cool for me because I just love how adrenaline packed it is, and I also I love competing, and I feel like I have a direct effect on the outcome, which is nice.
So what are some of those split decisions you're talking about?
Yeah. So say listen, we know what the races are, right? The one thing about CrossFit's a little different. You prepare for the unknown and unknowable, and grid, we get the matches, whether it's months before or weeks before, et cetera. So you have time to prepare. So you have practice. And you're going through the races and making sure that everyone knows what they're doing rep-wise and, when to sub, et cetera. But inevitably, it breaks down. Inevitably, you can't match the intensity that, in practice that you do in a match, with another team on the other side, going light speed. So basically, when it starts to break down, I've got to be able to make a split decision, to be able to get people in or out. Like, for instance, the final last year, and for people that watch grid, we like to call it the snatch herd around the world, which was Christian Harris's 270-pound snatch in the ladder in the final match against Phoenix, which basically iced the match for us.
Wow.
And really and truly, what ended up happening was we were losing the ladder, and I knew it was going to come down to Christian, but we initially had Christian starting at the 90-pound bar, which would have meant he would have skipped the 60 and the 75-pound bar. And if he would have, and what I did, because I knew Taylor got through fast enough, as I yelled back to my assistant coach at the start line and said, start Christian at the beginning. And with the 135 points, we ended up winning the ladder, by 135 pounds. So if he hadn't have gone back those 2 bars, we would have ended up tying them, and we would have ended up losing the match because we won by one point.
Yeah, right.
So
wow.
ultimately speaking, that split decision of me looking up the clock and knowing that he had that time, and really and truly, I'm not sure that you make that decision, if you're a rookie coach and it's your first match, it's so fast when you're out there. And, professional athletes will tell you the more experience they get, the game slows down, right? You can really start to see things and anticipate what's about to happen. And that was a circumstance, Tommy, that, that was like, there's an example of a split decision that was obviously a huge decision.
Yes.
Must be really funny trying to learn on the fly as to what you need to be a good coach in grid. I mean, like you say, it's such breakneck speed. When you watch it, you kind of eyes are darting everywhere, and it's so much mayhem. It'd basically be like going out and trying to coach an NBA basketball side in an NBA game with only 2 years of experience of what the game of basketball is. So yeah. I think it must be really interesting on your end, and I'm sure it's going to just evolve and evolve and evolve. As it goes. Hey, so how does the training differ? So obviously you got a lot of CrossFitters and a lot of specialists probably in your teams. How does the training differ, and what's the mix between maintaining the strength, basically the strength levels that these athletes have, where you're just but still are you just trying to focus on speed and rep Yeah, and speed and reps.
Yes, so it definitely does. It's a big difference, and it's tough sometimes because we do have some really high level CrossFitters who spend the majority of the year. The CrossFit season is really long. So you're prepping. The majority of the year for the Open, and then
so when is grid season?
Yeah, the grid season is going to be 3 weeks after the games this year.
Yep.
3 weeks after the games.
Yep.
So it's a separate season, and what's nice is because we have those specialists who can prepare for grid. Their training is obviously going to be different. It's like you said, it's really training for speed. Cycling and a lot of short durational explosive stuff. Followed by very short intermittent rest over and over and over, and just building that sprint capacity is such a huge part of what we do.
Yep.
Like, we don't give a shit what your
Murph time is.
5K time is. Yeah, I mean, I don't care what your Murph time is, right? It really and truly, I don't care what your Helen time is. I don't care what what I care about is
power.
Can you go there and in 30 seconds, can you just rip it?
Yes.
Can you give me 30 chest to bars unbroken, and then the minute your cycle time slows down, you're out.
Yeah.
And then I get something else in there. So I just need people who can give me that, and that's why you see some of the best grid athletes who really, they don't even finish in the top 200 in their region in the Open, because it's a different sport. It is completely.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest difference. But it's interesting for me because obviously I coach CrossFit Team Dynamix, and we're one of the best teams in the world at CrossFit. But I also, everyone on my team plays grid. So it's an interesting dichotomy because right now we're CrossFit focused, and then there's going to be a very quick turnaround trying to get some of these athletes back in grid mode. So it's not always the best thing to have great CrossFitters on your grid squad, because really and truly you have such an advantage if you don't have to train CrossFit.
And you would imagine in the future, in the long term, it wouldn't be, me personally, I wouldn't think that it would be teams filled with CrossFitters. I know that they're already dropping off compared to the first years. It'd be more specialists throughout the whole team, really, you would imagine. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think there will be a mix. You need some generalists.
Yep.
You need people
rounders.
to be, just in like the triads, and the echoes and stuff, because they have to have a bit of capacity, at a little bit longer stuff. But for the most part, we've definitely seen a change. And listen, the first year there were a couple teams that just flat got it wrong, right? I mean, they signed some of the top CrossFitters in the world, and we found out very quickly that some of the top CrossFitters in the world were just flat out bad at grid.
We talking about the New York Rhinos here?
Well, I'm not going to name any names.
Well,
we want the hard questions.
I think that's who we're talking about.
So Ian Berger, who's the GM of the Rhinos, is on my CrossFit Dynamix CrossFit team. He's
so
on.
you got to watch what you're saying there.
Yeah, so I got to be politically correct.
Yeah, that's
fair enough.
But listen, Ian will tell you that the first year they went for the big names and it didn't work out. And I was pretty lucky because I got the offer to be coach of the Brawlers a month or two already into the combine process the first year. So I came in late. A lot of those big name CrossFitters had already been signed before even any of the combines or racing had started in the preseason. And when I started to watch it and see kind of, what it entailed and what type of athlete you needed, I went a different route. And that's when I picked up, Taylor Stallings and Lindsay Maneri.
Taylor was MVP in the first season.
Yeah,
right?
Taylor was MVP the first year, and Lindsay Maneri was the bodyweight specialist of the year. And those two were the best players on my team. And I knew that, one, you needed to have if you wanted to win, you needed to have dominant females. And that if you wanted to win, you also needed to have people who weren't just good at CrossFit. They needed to be, specialists in certain areas. You need people who could cycle the barbell incredibly quickly. You needed bodyweight athletes who could, do high skill gymnastics, cycling incredibly quickly.
You got any weightlifting specialists Do you have? I saw Dimitri. We just spent some time with Dimitri Klokov in Bali on our Adventure Fit trip over there, and he was talking about his grid experiences. He said he loved it. So he's obviously a world champion. Did you guys have any specific weightlifters that you brought in for the? I mean, Taylor Stallings is it the MVP who you were mentioning? She's a strength athlete first and foremost, but is she a weightlifter, or do you have weightlifters? She
was a world champion powerlifter. Taylor, I believe, held 12 world records in all different weight classes for powerlifting. Wow. Yeah, she was. I mean, remarkable. And we've got some really good weightlifters, but in America, I mean, listen, some of the best weightlifters in America are CrossFitters, right?
For sure.
And
same in Australia as well.
Yeah, so we've got those. Alyssa Ritchie is very accomplished lifter in the United States, and she's on our team. We've got Christian Harris, who's a pretty accomplished lifter.
Yep.
We just signed Jeff Evans, who's incredibly strong. But we didn't go for a weightlifting specialist simply because what we saw last year was that you still need to have some conditioning capacity.
Yeah.
And it's, weightlifters, it's interesting. Like, you need a weightlifter who has either trained grid for a while or has done a little bit of CrossFit just so that they have some lungs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And also some of the movements as well, I'd imagine. Just when you were saying that there are athletes that are really starting to specialize in certain areas, do those athletes still need to have a base capacity on the rings, for example, or on the pull-up bar and things like that?
Yeah, so if you take somebody who's literally straight out of college, who went to college for gymnastics, or someone who competed at a really high level gymnastics-wise, if they haven't done this, if they haven't done grid, if they, it's almost like they're too perfect, right? It's everything is perfect. It's not sloppy enough. It's not fast enough. You got to be a little dirty. You got to be able to throw that in. And so our guy, that we have who's our gymnastics specialist, who's a very high level gymnast. However, he's also an excellent CrossFitter. He's a guy that I coach in CrossFit. He finished 4th in the Southeast region, and he's Ryan Elrod. For those who know grid, obviously he was the bodyweight specialist of the year last year.
Ryan Elrod.
Yeah.
That's a sick last name.
That's a cool name, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about the last names we have,
Yeah.
and then that name.
Oh, man.
Ryan Elrod.
Elrod.
He's a Cirque du Soleil performer.
He must get all the girls.
He's married with a child.
So he gets one girl.
Yes, one girl, exactly. But yeah, absolutely. You need to. I feel like you kind of have to immerse yourself a little bit in CrossFit or grid training. That's why I feel like there's a lot of lifters. We got a lot of interest this year from really high level lifters in the United States, and we didn't go for any of them, and we told them, listen, obviously you have the strength and you have I think the potential, but you need a year to really get used to the speed and to understand that you can't just take 10 seconds to set up over a bar and then lift it. It's got to be, you got to go.
Absolutely.
And last year we saw with Klokov, the guy he was the strongest guy in the league by far. He was also one of the slowest guys in the league, So,
so how did he go for listeners of this pod? How did Klokov go in the grid?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't good.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's interesting, isn't it?
He's a sweetheart of a guy.
Yes.
But he
sucks.
He was detrimental to his team, without question.
Yeah.
There were times where, if you were playing him, you wanted Klokov to be in. You knew for a fact that he was going to be slower because the weights, listen, they're heavy, and they're heavy enough where he still would get fatigued with 5-6 reps.
Yep.
He's probably the fastest 183 centimeters, 115 kilogram man on the planet, which probably doesn't help. Probably doesn't say much considering he's just probably too big.
He's such a monster.
He's a legit monster.
He's a monster. The guy's unbelievable. He looks like a superhero. But on the grid, he wasn't fast. He just wasn't fast enough. And I think he knew that. I think he was having fun.
Yeah,
I
of
think
course,
for sure. And it's probably really good for the Baltimore Anthem or whoever he was that he played for, that they just had him on the team, because it's going to spread a whole heap of exposure to the team, to the Grid League as well. So it's probably something that helped not only his team but helped everything. Obviously, in this young stage of the sport, you want as many eyes on you as you can. Hey, I think should we go to? I think Justin, we might jump into some good, the bad, and the science. I think this is a good spot to break it up a little bit, and then we'll dive a little bit more into grid. That's the most interesting thing for me. So, but let's. You ready for some? You ready to learn?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Hey, Justin, are you a fan of the UFC?
I know a few of the people, but I'm not a huge fan of the UFC.
Cool. All right, well, we'll skip the whole thing. Bill, you want to... I'm joking. So, mate, the good, the bad, the science, literally three little sort of sub-segments in this where we talk about some stuff that's happened in the media, and the good and the bad, and then we can flick it over to something bizarre in the science. The first thing I wanted to touch on is... now, do you know... Are you aware of Conor McGregor?
I am aware, and I heard he retired.
Well, how's that? So last night I was having a look through it, through some of the articles, and apparently he hasn't retired.
Okay.
So McGregor, this is from the article, McGregor specified that he is not in fact retired and that he is ready and willing to still fight in the UFC. But he says that he released that statement because he was copying a lot of crap from the media and all this sort of stuff, and he went on to say, now where's that? I definitely have lost the place that I was going to read from here. Moving on.
This is Tommy's first go at this, Justin.
First go, yeah. Bearing in mind that I've done this 15 times, but it's clearly my first go.
First and last.
Yeah, he didn't want it first and last. Yeah, he didn't want to fight in UFC 200 against Big Nate. But my question was, Bill and I are massive fans of Conor McGregor. Are you a relative fan at all, Justin? Or?
Is that your question?
No. That's not the question. Are you a fan?
What's your question, mate?
Question is, how would you guys feel, or how do you think the population as a whole would feel if he actually had retired just after losing a fight that he maybe shouldn't have lost?
This question for me?
Yes.
This is great. So I have never seen a Conor McGregor fight.
Okay.
I'm honestly a huge boxing fan. I have seen a few UFC matches, but I do watch a lot of Sports Center, so I have seen everything about Conor McGregor. And personally, kind of the way that the whole thing sounds to me was if he retired on that loss, I think obviously his legacy has to take a hit, right?
Yes.
I mean, wouldn't you say? My assumption would be, he needs to come back and try to redeem himself and see if he can, he obviously went into that match with a lot of luster, and just like Rousey, she kind of, after that was over, came crashing down. I mean, he's got to try to redeem himself, or else his legacy is going to be, is going to be ruined. So I feel like without question, he's going to have to get back on the horse here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I tend to agree. He came up with a good point. There was a lot of kerfuffle about whether he retired or whether the UFC pulled him from the UFC 200 card, and Dana White, the president of the UFC, said that it was the fact that Conor refused to go to Las Vegas and fly over to do some filming of commercials for the show, and Conor McGregor in his recent post when he cleared up the fact that he wasn't retiring, said that he offered for the UFC to keep the $10 million so that he didn't have to come over and do all the interviews and so forth. And he said he just gave him $30 million worth of exposure with one tweet, because 100% he's just the best at self-promotion and marketing that we've ever seen. Obviously with the what he talks, but he's also super smart. I mean, this was all a ploy for Conor to get what he wants from the UFC, to also gain more exposure, get people talking about him. Whether he fights on UFC 200 or not, I am not sure. But he's not going anywhere, and he's smarter than a lot of people give him credit for, I think.
I think a lot of people really think he's just another fighter that's just a massive talker, will go in, hopefully win or not, and then reap the rewards of getting money and all that sort of stuff. But there's definitely more behind it. The bad. Now this is really. I actually only found out about this about 4 hours ago that Prince died. Did you hear about that, Justin? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've been watching. It's a rough day for me. Obviously, one of my absolutely one of my heroes.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Bowie and Prince in the last two or 3 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty terrible. But so I recently married, and my wife, who grew up in Wisconsin. I'm not sure if you guys know Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Midwest. Now, listen, Prince is from Minnesota, which is interesting because there's not a lot of black people in Minnesota,
Sure.
and not a lot of black people in Wisconsin, and not a lot of that style of music when she was growing up. So she didn't know a lot about Prince, and all day today, I was showing her videos and interviews and different things. He's one of a generation. I mean, you just don't see artists like that anymore.
Definitely.
Who can dance the way he danced and play instruments and write songs and sing. I said, basically the guy could dance like Michael Jackson. He could play the guitar like Eric Clapton, and he could sing, and he could sing like Stevie Wonder. I mean, you have three, you basically just have the best of everything wrapped in person. And, we'll never see another like him. I mean, there'll only be one Prince. And to be honest, I would say now, obviously, one of my biggest regrets is I never got to see him live, ever. I've seen Stevie live, and I've seen who's also one of my heroes. I've seen some great artists, but I never got to see Prince, and I performed a lot of his songs. I've covered a lot of his songs.
What's your favorite song by Prince?
Oh man,
there's a few. It's a big question, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, I know a lot of his obscure stuff, and the band I was in back in the day, we did a cover of his called "New Position," which was a great song. But of the stuff that's more recognizable, Little Red Corvette, is probably my favorite. I love "Darling Nikki." It's a great song.
That is a good song. It's really good.
But "Want to Be Your Lover." I mean, there's so many. I mean, it's,
what about a good old "You Don't Have to Be Beautiful"?
Oh, yeah. I think the problem is I had to sing that song every single gig that I did with the event. So eventually you get a little bit tired of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so good.
Well,
I mean, it's so good.
You sort of touched on the question I was going to ask. Just in a very short response. How would you compare Michael Jackson to Prince in terms of sort of one of the the greatest of all time pop artists? Would you say one's better than the other, or they're a bit different?
They're on the same level.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're two. Again, Michael Jackson, Prince. I wouldn't put a lot of people in that realm. I think off the top of my head, you could probably put. In different genres,
Bowie in there?
right? But
would you toss Bowie in the mix?
Probably for innovation. I don't know necessarily. I would put him there as far as the music catalog is concerned, or the talent per se.
Ooh, he's my number one.
Well, you also like One Direction, Bill. So
he's unbelievable though, and I loved him. I thought he was incredible. But I would put Michael Jackson. I would put Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
I would put definitely Prince. That's just a different. It's just a completely. There's just nobody like those guys.
No.
It's amazing.
And I guess with the way the music's sort of evolving, we probably won't see that sort of stuff anytime soon,
No, I agree. I don't think you will. I don't think you will. So anyway,
cool.
That really sucked today.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
definitely not good.
Yeah. What do you got in the science, Tommy? What do you got?
Well, I found this bizarre article that I was reading, and apparently neither a giant asteroid or a gradual die-out can take the blame for the demise in the dinosaur reign. So, are you a dinosaur? Are you interested in dinosaurs at all, Justin?
Huge. I love dinosaurs.
Oh, good man. This is awesome. This is right up your alley.
We can be friends.
We can be friends now, yeah.
I love them. I was obsessed with them when I was a kid.
Yeah. Oh, they're fucking cool, aren't they?
Dino Riders. I used to have a TV show called Dino Riders. It was a cartoon about humans that would ride around on dinosaurs and have battles against the bad guys.
I've seen.
Oh,
I
yeah?
used to watch that. Did you always watch? Did you used to watch Mars Rats?
Nah. You
Oh,
mean
really?
Bike and Mice from Mars?
Bike and Mice from Mars.
Mars Rats.
Mars Rats. Let's
This
screw that
jerk.
up. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, Bike and
from
Mice was
Mars.
pretty sick.
Yeah, and what
Yeah.
about Shark Dudes?
Let's move on.
All right. So apparently they were. So neither can take the full blame, but they both sort of did it together. So apparently the demise of dinosaurs started happening a couple of million years before the actual asteroid hit. So it's interesting. My hugely on a different tangent question to you.
Hang on, why? Why?
Well, here we
Why
go.
was the decline?
Around 40 million to 50 million years before the mass extinction, dinosaurs started losing species faster than they were gaining new ones, the researchers found. This loss in diversity could have made it harder for dinosaurs to bounce back from the asteroid's catastrophic impact. I actually didn't read why, but apparently if that hadn't happened, there could have still be dinosaurs after the asteroid because it wouldn't have totally extended the population. Which is quite interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah, but geez, you sound like you're really interested there, mate. But Justin, if you saw a giant asteroid coming to you, mate, and you had a couple of hours to finish off on the Earth, what would you do? Would you sing some Prince and do a squat?
I'd probably jump in bed with my wife, actually.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
good way to go out.
Sounds good. Yep, I do the same, except not with your wife, and I. that would be ridiculous.
Do you know Justin's wife?
Well, we met previously.
Good stuff.
That was a good round of science. I hope you learnt something there, mate.
Cool. Good.
Excellent.
Good stuff. Alrighty. So let's go into a little bit more about the grid. So, taking it back to and outside of the coaching side of it, and what goes on. Why was the grid league actually started? Is it because I heard that Tony Budding got behind the idea and wanted to try and put the idea to CrossFit, but CrossFit didn't want any bar of it, so he wanted to take it out and do it on his own. And the whole idea was kind of giving the functional fitness realm a professional sport where people can be treated like athletes, like professionals, and you can make it a seasonal televised event. That's my understanding of it. You probably know closer to the truth, or am I pretty bang on, or what was the reason? How did it all get started?
Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on, actually. I know Tony, when he first started this, he really felt that a lot of the athletes that were doing CrossFit obviously, can't make a living. And we do it because we love it and it's awesome. But most of the time it's a challenge and it's for the glory and it's cool. But there's really only a few athletes who can make a living and make money. And what's great about the Grid League is, we're not at the level yet where that's all you can do, but for the period of time that the athletes play, they do pretty well. And I think what Tony wanted to do, and the reason I got behind it is because, you see what these athletes go through. I mean, it's a full-time job now to train to be at the level that they're at.
For sure.
And, really and truly, yes, it's awesome. And you make regionals, it's amazing. But the athletes that don't go to the games, very few of them get any money from sponsors. It's mostly product. Very few of them, they have to bust their asses coaching or working odd jobs to be able to find time to train. And I know that when I got into it, I really loved the idea of there being a return for these athletes who have put out so hard.
Even local level athletes training. I mean, I know in Melbourne, I know guys. I'm no longer in CrossFit anymore. I'm a weightlifter. But I actually said that Tommy's just ducked out to the bathroom for a second. I normally get grief every time I say I'm a weightlifter. Apparently, I mention it every show, Justin. But a lot of the guys that I used to train with, these guys are training 5 or 6 hours a day just to be the podium finisher in a local CrossFit competition, and that's like 5 or 6 days a week. That's professional hours of a professional athlete with absolutely no reward. Some of these guys have zero sponsors. They've got to survive. They've got to give them their body 20 times more food than anyone else would normally eat. All the supplements in the world. So, I think it's crazy how it's all worked out now. But the idea with Grid is that it's televised. you're building a seasonal package that you can sell to sponsors to give back more money to the athletes and treat it like a professional sport, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, without question. And, I think the one of the cool things that's happening this year is, my understanding is the league has started to sell some of the content internationally.
Yep.
So it's going to now be televised in different countries. I don't know exactly where yet, but that's exciting for us. Obviously, that it's becoming more global, and I think over the next few years, if we do it the right way, that it really is exciting enough to stand on its own and be something that obviously can flourish, and we can add more teams and more money, and it can be something that that is a long-standing spectator sport, and something that's that's really exciting and popular.
So let's say in 15 years' time or 20 years' time, let's flash forward. Grid League is a really well-recognised household name of a sport, similar to the way that the UFC has risen, mixed martial arts has risen in 20 years.
Sure.
Let's say that all happens and it's very big, very strong, very successful. How would it feel for you to look back knowing that you are not only the inaugural coach for a side, but the first two championships were won with your team and under your belt?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I told the team, before our final, my pregame speech, I spoke to them about creating a legacy. Really, when we look back at our lives, what have we left behind? And the truth of the matter is, we created history. We were the first dynasty of a new sport that was created in our lifetimes.
That's awesome.
And it's really fucking cool.
Sure.
And I think, it was one of those things where everybody knew we made history, and they can never take it away from us. Like, I could lose every game from here until, the rest of the time. But the bottom line is, for 2 years, we were undefeated and we won championships.
Yeah, that's right.
And no one will ever be able to take that away from us. And, my wife is funny because she's a huge American football fan. And she's a big Green Bay Packer fan, which is, one of the storied franchises here in the United States in the NFL. And the coach who won the first two championships is a guy by the name of Vince Lombardi.
Oh, yeah.
Who, if you know anything about coaching, obviously is one of the legendary coaches of all time. But last year, before the championship, she was like, now listen, you won one championship, but, Lombardi won the first two, right? And if you want to have eventually – so now when in the NFL, when you win the championship, you get what's called the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
Oh yeah, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you're looking for you're looking for the Justin Cotler Trophy. Then is that a little shout out? Hey, Good League, just in case you're wondering, we won the first championships.
I want my name on the trophy.
Don't forget.
Yeah, she said if you want them to name the trophy after you, you have to win the first two.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I'm hoping that she was prophetic. We'll
It would be nice.
I hope so. Yeah, it would be pretty cool.
Lombardi, he did that quote. I've just pulled it up here. Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. It's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get up. The harder you work, the harder it is to surrender. I love that last one. The harder you work, you almost get so addicted to it, like you were saying before with your music and all that sort of stuff. It's a fantastic quote.
Oh, he's got so many. I love all of his quotes. He's got some of the coolest quotes of all time. And I've used many of them before. So yeah.
What about the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary? How good's that?
Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
What about this one here? Don't eat the yellow snow.
It's good that you got a nice full belly laugh out of that one, Justin. Tommy uses that gag every show.
Awesome. I do. I suck at jokes.
Hey, so where do you see in an ideal world? I know I kind of just touched on it myself, but where do you see the future of grid? What are the things that need to be overcome? What are the strengths of grid and that are going to make it strive? And where do you see the sport in the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, listen, we're in the incipient stages. It's whenever you're you've got something that's just starting out, you're always kind of close to the ledge, So, but it's been able to sustain over a few years. There've been ups and downs. We still have some phenomenal athletes and are gaining more and more each year. I think there's a definitive plan now. I think it started with really this bang and almost started, in my opinion, it might have started even a little too big.
Yeah.
And
Madison
and
Square
now
Garden for the first
exactly.
first game. Yeah.
So, I think we're now in a situation where, they've reined it in a bit and it's a bit more controlled. And, I really think that if because the athletes love it, and that's what's the coolest thing. And I think because the athletes love it, it's got a great chance. And you can see the passion of the athletes and obviously of the coaches and the people who love the sport when you come to watch it. And it's a really fun, adrenaline-filled spectator sport. It's really fast. It's very spectator-friendly. It's more spectator-friendly than CrossFit, honestly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I really think the fact that it's going international, you've got, what are the two biggest components? Weightlifting and gymnastics. And around the world, there are a ton of countries where what are the two biggest sports?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Europe at 100%.
Absolutely. In Asia and you've got there's some big populations there, right?
Yep.
So ultimately speaking, I think the biggest thing is to get it out there. We need just more visibility, more presence, and ultimately speaking, I think if they can do that and really bring it to the people, that I think it can be successful.
Do you know another thing as well? I think it's great on the other side that Grid is providing all this exposure for the actual sports of weightlifting and gymnastics. I mean, I remember I saw Clock Off here in Melbourne, and I was speaking to him after, and he was talking about how good CrossFit is at just creating exposure for the beautiful sport of weightlifting now. It's Grid and CrossFit and things like that have drawn such a modern edge on sports that are naturally seen as very traditional. And I think that in itself is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think you've seen such an explosion in weightlifting since, with CrossFit. And I think obviously, Grid will continue that. And I think the future's bright. I really do. And ultimately, I'll tell you what, but the bottom line is no matter what happens, it's been a blast. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I've had a ton of fun and made some long lasting, friendships and relationships.
Awesome.
And, it's been awesome, and I'm excited to be a part of it again. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I really do think I think we've got a good shot to be around for a little while.
Beautiful. Alrighty. Well, I think we'll leave it there, Justin. Firstly, before we go though, do you have anything you want to plug?
Sure.
Wait. Actually, I stuffed up. Tommy's just brought it to my attention. That I nearly skipped over 9 from 9, or in this case, 6 from 6. So before we do that, my apologies. Gotcha. I'm a terrible host.
No worries. You're a weightlifter now, man. Don't worry.
Oh,
yeah,
Justin, that is so funny.
I dropped it in.
Oh, did you bring
it in when you're out there?
That's awesome. I am a weightlifter.
So I'll start us off. Mac normally starts off, but he's out today. So my 3 questions are: first question, your favourite destination on the planet, travel destination, can be a small town, city, country, can be anything.
Oh man, I'm gonna say Amalfi Coast, Italy.
Ooh, nice one. Why is that? Yeah. Someone else say that the other week?
Yeah, someone said Italy. Something like Florence or something.
Oh, Florence. Yeah, it was Florence. Where what is it about the Amalfi Coast that you love?
Food and wine and beauty.
Just a lovely spectacle.
I like 2 out of 3 of those things.
Yeah,
sounds like
food,
pretty good.
Food and wine and beauty. We spent. I've been there a few times, but we spent part of our honeymoon there, and the city of Ravenna is just maybe the most beautiful place on earth. So,
wow.
It's awesome. And Italy in general, I love, and Florence is amazing. But I would say if my one favorite is probably Amalfi Coast.
Sweet. And what about? So it's basically the same question, but it's somewhere that you haven't been. So your dream destination can be absolutely anywhere again.
Dream destination. I've never. So I'm going to give you 2.
Yeah.
I've never been to the Greek islands, which I would love to go to because I've heard actually, like Santorini and a few of the others are supposed to be as breathtaking as the Amalfi Coast.
I named a cocktail at a bar on Eos, the island of Eos, at the Fun Pub one year. So if you ever get to the Fun Pub on the island of Eos, look for the Peninsula Swill and think of me, Justin.
What's in it?
It's Maduri and milk. Do you know the the Maduri, the drink Maduri?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the liqueur. It's green.
Yeah, so it freaks people out. It's my favorite drink in the world. It freaks people out even at the thought of it. But if you taste a Madurian milk,
sounds delicious.
Your life will be changed forever.
Oh, yeah.
Is that because you just get insanely hammered, like off one drink, or it actually tastes quite nice?
It tastes like a splice ice cream.
What sort of milk?
Full cream milk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
Anyway,
especially the full cream part.
And the second place that you were going to mention?
Yeah, actually, Australia. Never been.
Beautiful, man.
Yes.
I got a spare bedroom.
We'd love to have you down here.
Oh yeah, man. I was close to coming this time for regionals.
Really?
Yeah, but it's tough. It's 2 weeks before our regional here, and I've got I basically when you coach a team, man, you're basically you got 6 kids, so it's tough.
Sure.
I can't leave for that long.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, next time
sure
you're down in Melbourne, love to have you. We'll go out for a beer and we'll jam on the guitar. That'd be cool.
That sounds good.
Just you and Justin?
Just me and Justin. Dude, you can fuck off.
Strangely awkward.
Yeah, that'd be awkward.
All right.
Pants off.
So,
Nice.
Third question is, if you were on a desert island and you had 3 things to keep you sane, not alive, you've got food and water and all that stuff, and you can't have people either. So you got 3 things to keep you alive.
Oh, wow.
What are your 3? Oh, you've got. Say you might have people. Let's neither here nor there.
Yep.
What are your 3 things that you're going to take with you to keep your mind at ease?
Oh my gosh. That's a tough one.
I know. Very tough one.
What would I keep with me? I would say I probably need to have a book or 2, right?
Cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then
Never-ending Kindle.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be good. A never-ending Kindle would be excellent. Actually,
just in general, it'd be cool.
There's a market.
Yeah, I definitely would not. I would love to leave my cell phone, so I don't want that.
Yes,
That's definitely
good man.
Say things I don't want.
Yeah, that's good. It says a lot about you. I like that system.
Yeah.
Fuck the phone.
Oh my gosh. But yeah. So never-ending Kindle sounds good. Some type of a ball.
Everyone takes a ball.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I need something to occupy my time athletically. So I would probably take a ball of some kind. So it wouldn't matter what. It could be a football, soccer ball, basketball. Any of that stuff would be fine. And then I would have to listen to music. So I would need
Never-ending iPod.
You said never-ending Kindle, never-ending iPod.
Cool.
There you go.
So
Sweet.
the ball would be good. Just kick with a tray.
Yeah, so there's 3.
Cool.
There we go. We're good.
I like it.
Cool.
Alrighty. Biggest role model growing up?
My mother.
Oh, nice one. Any particular reason?
My mom, just I don't know, I'm a mama's boy, I guess. But just one of my heroes, and somebody who incredibly intelligent, strong woman who I definitely got my singing talent from, and my intensity, my temper. Just someone who I look up to and always have my entire life, and so she definitely was probably the person that affected me the most growing up.
Cool. That's a good answer. Best thing to do when you have some downtime? It sounds like you're an incredibly busy man, but when you've got maybe half an hour, 45 minutes to yourself, what do you like to do?
When I have, honestly, my wife and I are big foodies.
Cool.
So when we have downtime, man, we love to go out and experience great meals and really good wine. And as I've gotten older, I think I just learned to appreciate that stuff a little bit more.
Sure.
And,
Yep.
It's and especially now being a coach and the athletic side of things have taken a back seat. I can, where I don't look at food as just fuel. I actually look at food as enjoyment.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
So definitely, that's one of our biggest hobbies is is eating.
It's so good. It's very human to eat, I imagine.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
It's geez, that must be great looking at food as an enjoyment factor thing now, as opposed to just fuel and having that intensity with food.
So good.
And final question here, mate. I'm actually really interested to see what your answer is. If there were 3 people dead or alive you could invite to dinner, who would they be and why? Apart from your family, just let's just pretend that your family's already there.
Interesting. 3 people dead or alive. I think that well, I would say some of my heroes, obviously, but I'm only going to take one from each realm, I guess.
Cool.
So I'll take. He's actually still alive, and it's my favorite musician of all time. And then it's a bit cliche, I guess, because he's probably like a million people's favorite musician. But Stevie Wonder would be one person for sure. Definitely my biggest influence as a musician and as an artist. I think my second one. This is terrible. It's gonna be another sports figure, but I would say Muhammad Ali when he was in his prime.
You don't really want to spend the time with him now.
No, it's kind of tough now. And actually, he's the only guy I've ever been starstruck meeting.
When did you meet him?
I met him 2002. I went to a benefit. It was a music thing, and he was the guest, the honored guest, and got to go up and shake his hand, and I swear it's the only time in my whole life that I have ever been like giddy. Yeah. I mean, just like a school girl, just like really, it was crazy because I didn't expect to feel that way, but it was interesting. You really at that point he's a living legend, and he's somebody that I guess you could consider him as possibly the most visible athlete and maybe the greatest of all time.
It's just such a name, isn't it? Muhammad Ali, being introduced to something like that would have been absolutely incredible.
I wonder if he had his time again.
Yep.
Considering his current state, whether he would. Whether he would,
if it was all worth it, do you mean?
Yeah, whether the juice was worth a squeeze.
Do we know that Parkinson's disease related to?
I'm not sure. I've heard it spoken about numerous times, so I'm assuming there's where there's smoke, there's fire. But
I can't imagine being hit in the head would be great for you long term. But
and that's the thing, But what I love about Muhammad Ali, and I think what would be so interesting is, aside from obviously the sports aspect, is he was one of those figures that it was so visible, and it was just one of those dramatic figures at that time when you had race relations that were so
it was a political figure.
It was huge for equality.
So the fact that you would have somebody that was so polarizing, at the table, would be pretty insane.
There's so many different questions you would ask him.
Oh, I mean, it would be outrageous.
Yeah. What would be for me? I would ask what the decision process was like when he refused to enroll in the army. Remember the famous quote? No Viet Cong ever called me nigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's a huge stand.
Yeah. That's a massive thing to say, isn't it? To not be. I mean, it's such a patriotic thing to fight for your country, and he took sort of a more racial equality side to it, and I mean that's just.
No, I think it was just more about not needing to go to war and kill people.
Yeah, during it was that.
He used the word. I think he used the word nigger just as in they've never done anything to him, so he doesn't
to
want
him,
to kill
but they have done stuff to his country.
Yeah, but I think he was just more saying there's no need for war.
Yeah,
is what he was saying. I don't think it had any racial.
Well, I mean, this is obviously a great question that we need to ask him.
Yeah, let's get him to the dinner table.
Yeah,
let's get him to the dinner table.
I think we should. Do you have one more, Justin?
Yeah, I do. Can I invite my great grandfather?
Yeah,
who's dead?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure.
How is he?
So it's an interesting story. My great grandfather is the guy by the name of Israel Goldberg, and Israel Goldberg. I'm Jewish.
It's a very Jewish
name.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's a Jewish name, right? So Israel Goldberg was, I guess, from what I know, and I didn't know him, but he was almost like the Al Capone of Savannah, Georgia, in like the early 20th century in the United States. He was a bootlegger.
Really?
Wow.
Who was arrested for, obviously for bootlegging, and was imprisoned. But my father tells me stories about him, his grandfather, and I mean, he had an incredible relationship with him. But I think that it would have been really cool to ask him, a ton of questions about that time and just, kind of his experiences in, I guess being a gangster and the whole nine. I mean, it's just so, it's so interesting for us to.
I've always wanted to be a gangster.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Right? It's cool. So we have all these movies that we get to watch, but who knows, what it was really like. And, I'd love to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah,
so that would be.
I've got no bitches and hoes in my life.
No, I've got none.
It's something that I'll never live down.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to where I took us to before. And do you have anything that you want to plug, Justin?
Sure. I mean, if anybody wants to obviously reach out or contact me or follow kind of what I'm doing, my Instagram handle's my name, Justin Cotler, Facebook, Justin Cotler. But they can also go, and if they want to check out what's going on with Grid, they can check out DC Brawlers on Instagram. They can check out the Grid League on Instagram. Or if they want to know and they're interested, obviously, in what we're doing CrossFit-wise, CrossFit CF, as in CrossFit, Dynamix with an X.com. Or they can go to Team Dynamix 2016, which is our team Instagram handle, and check out all the stuff. We have some incredibly visible CrossFit athletes like Andrea Ager and Becca Day, Christian Harris. They're all on my team. So it's pretty exciting as we get geared up for regionals and the games. But any of those, people can come and check that out or ask questions. I'm a pretty open dude, so I love to help people, and if they have questions about training or Grid or anything CrossFit, I'd be happy to answer them.
Excellent.
Alrighty. Perfect. Well, I was going to ask where can they find you, but you've pretty much given out all your social media handles and so forth there. So that's pretty much it from us, Justin.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot for coming on the show, man, and good luck with the upcoming Grid season and with your CrossFit Games team.
Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
All right, fellas. Take care.
All right, gang. Hope you enjoyed that one. That was Justin Cotler. Hope you guys really enjoyed him singing as well. That was a really good part. How good's his voice out of 10? It's a 7. Yeah, no, that's well, I think it's more than a 7, Steve. But that's all right, mate. Yeah. So, guys, I hope you really enjoyed that one. Please stay tuned to all the stuff we do on our social media, because we are banging you guys out with tons and tons of new guests and things on the radio. Please stay updated with all the crap we're up to. Just want to make a final quick mention to our sponsors, Loxam Solutions, guys. Thanks again for supporting the show. Loxam Solutions, jump onto www.loxamsolutions.com.au. I did forget to mention, guys, at the start of the show that it is AU at the end of loxamsolutions.com. So please make sure you don't go onto some bizarre porn website or anything. It's www.com.au there. Also, No Days Off Sups, guys. NDOSups.com. How about you drop ADVF radio for 10% off and get yourself some really cool discounted shit there. As I said before, McGregor loves it. So jump on there, guys. Adventure Fit Travel, our mother company. We're doing some cool stuff. We just hit Bali. People absolutely froth Bali. We had July. So in July, late July, mid-July, we've got a USA trip coming up for the CrossFit Games partly. So jump on board that, guys. If all goes to plan, myself and Bill will be there. So you can meet two absolute stars of the show. Probably the best. No, I was going to say probably the best looking, but I'm probably the worst looking. Bill's middle, Macca's the best, but undecided as to whether he's going to be on the show yet or taking a role as a model for Abercrombie and Finch in Europe. So I'm not sure how that's going to pan out for McGregor, but we'll see. Thank you, guys. Jump onto all those things I just mentioned, and stay tuned for next week. Bye-bye.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.